Twilight's better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's it. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Oh, you guys really like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, huh? Well, alright. Here's the deal. I am not going to try to convince you or anyone else that Twilight is better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It is, but I don't really care if anyone agrees with me. But I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and I did not like it. So I'm going to make two videos. This one that I thought of when I was in a more cynical mood, where I mean-spiritedly throw common Twilight insults at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and see what sticks. And a follow-up video where I explain why I even wanted to make this comparison and why I think that the way we speak about good art is wrong. Before continuing, this video won't be particularly meaningful or interesting. So if you're not interested in some guy pointlessly insulting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, then I suggest you skip to the next video, linked in the description. Feel free to leave a mean comment before you go, but without further ado, Twilight is better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood Part Red. Alright, let's get this party started. I got my double IPA that I poured in a wine glass to look more fancy. I got my hat full of Twilight specific complaints that I will pull from completely at random. Now, of course, it will be difficult for me to throw these complaints at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, especially since this 10-time Oscar nominated film is by all accounts a near perfect movie with impeccable writing by the legendary Quentin Tarantino. But don't you worry, darling, I'm sure that I'll have something to say. The writing is bad and nothing happens until the last 15 minutes when the movie suddenly decides it wants to have a plot. Alright, easy. Once has some of the worst writing I've ever seen. Nothing happens, literally, not a thing. DiCaprio does some acting on a TV show, then he does some acting in Italy. Brad Pitt goes to the desert once. The film just meanderingly moves from scene to scene with no real sense of progress. There is this Sharon Tate subplot just goddamn thrown in the middle of this movie that connects to absolutely nothing and isn't particularly well done. I guess if you come into this film already in love with Sharon Tate, then these scenes might evoke some sort of emotion from you. But that's asking a lot of the audience, if you ask me. You know what would be better? What would just be like a little bit better? If the writing of this movie actually cared to endear me to his characters. Screw history. Just create actual interesting characters and plot, and I'll like it. I promise you, I would like it. No one even falls in love for the entire movie. And then, out of nowhere, apropos of nothing, we are treated to this big, action, murderous ending that resolves absolutely nothing and revolves around villains that we don't really know or care about. That is, unless you are already invested in Sharon Tate and the Manson family murders. But if, like me, you didn't care to read a Wikipedia article before watching this movie, you're left wondering, why is this happening? What is the point? What is the point of any of this? And I know a movie doesn't need to have a good or interesting plot to be great. I don't think Richard Linklater knows what a plot is, and his movies are amazing. But it sure does help if you have one. But, strong direction can really overcome weaker writing. The direction is bad. Alright, I'll admit it. Kind of a meaningless insult. Twilight had bad direction because it has a blue filter and Dutch angles. Once is bad because I don't like it. And I could say that it's because the direction is meandering and pointless and romantic for a time period that doesn't deserve to be romanticized or really anything. But the truth is I just don't like it. And I can admit that. Even in this game of meaningless insults, demeaning Quentin Tarantino's direction feels a bit hollow. But I'm doing it anyway. Let's talk about the scene. You know the one, the scene. Alright, so DiCaprio's character is having trouble filming a scene. There's no crew, no camera, just actors and the disembodied voice of the director begging him to finish the scene as the camera swings, giving us a full view of the emptiness inside. I'll say it. The scene was gorgeous. I was thoroughly impressed when I saw it. Honestly, one of the best directed scenes in cinema history. But it didn't feel like that when I was watching it. Like, what does this scene do for the movie? Why should I care? It is well done, but in a way that takes me out of the film. Suddenly, I'm not empathizing with the characters because I'm too busy thinking that Quentin Tarantino is pretty cool. Honestly, it just feels like Quentin Tarantino swinging his dick around, telling us that he knows how to work a camera. And yes, Mr. Tarantino, you can work a camera very good, and I presume your dick is very nice. Now, can you please actually make an interesting scene in the movie? Something that contributes to the film that is in. If you just made a good film, there would be no need to be so self-aggrandizing, so self-indulgent, so gorgeously incompetent, so utterly unsubstantial in style or substance, so unbelievable. Okay, that one was a bit vague. I'm going to hope for a more specific one. I don't like how the vampires sparkle. Alright, you got me there. No sparkly vampires in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Personally, I think the inclusion of a shining supernatural creature could only improve this movie's charms. Honestly, a movie about old Hollywood could definitely use a soulless bloodsucker or two. But you know what? On to the next. Twilight is racist. Alright. Even for the context of this video, I don't particularly want to throw this one at once. Racism is such a charged word with important and specific definitions that are misused all the time. So I really don't want to be petty with the word. I mean, sure, it'd be easy to critique the weird and specific white male fantasy of beating Bruce Lee in a fight, but I don't really care about that. You know, maybe if there was more than a single person of color in this movie doing anything of import, then I'd have something to say, but I don't. The truth is, this movie is aggressively white. And I don't like the movie. And those two facts interact in a complicated way. Honestly, I don't know if it's better for a movie to be aggressively white or to include people of color in potentially harmful ways. I mean, you would think that a movie about the Manson family, a weird cult obsessed with starting a race war in America, would have, like, a black person in it. But to each their own. You know what? I know that movies don't have to be diverse to be good. I don't think Richard Linklater knows what a black person is, and his movies are great. But it is nice to see the bodies of people of color on screen, especially in these big, critically acclaimed, Oscar-winning films that aren't explicitly about racial violence. But I'm supposed to be being mean, so I'm going to be mean with this next one. The acting is bad, Kristen Stewart doesn't smile and Robert Pattinson is pretentious. Okay, so we're gonna change this to the acting is bad, Brad Pitt doesn't smile, Leonardo DiCaprio is pretentious. Let's go. Okay, before I want to say that I generally do not like criticizing a person's acting. It always sounds like a personal attack. And most of the time, when I hear people call out bad acting, there is something more specific that they can criticize. Maybe they don't like the character decisions, maybe they don't like the character motivations, or the camera work is bad, or the editing betrays the scene, or to be real, maybe they just don't vibe with it. And that's not necessarily on the acting. People say that K-Stu's performance is bad because she hasn't smiled or whatever nonsense. And what hubris to presume to know when a character should smile. All of this is to say that I think most acting criticism that you hear is either nonsense or unhelpful. But I said I was going to be mean, so I'm going to be mean. Let's go. Let's go down the line. Margaret Qualley, too good for this movie. She is absolutely perfect, and every second she's on screen is magic.
Boom. Roasted.
Margot Robbie, she is doing something, I guess. Maybe if I cared all about Sharon Tate, I would see something in her performance. But I don't. I don't care. I don't see anything. I don't know what she's doing.
Boom. Roasted.
Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor playing an actor. He acts so good in this movie that the entire production stops to give him a round of applause.
That was the best acting I've ever seen in my whole life.
Like you.
Just give me a break, please. Yes, Mr. DiCaprio, your dick is also very nice. So could you please stop mumbling and fidgeting through all of your scenes? We get it. You certainly are doing a lot of acting.
Boom. Roasted.
Oscar winner Brad Pitt. You know, I want to criticize his acting. I really do. I just don't know if I saw any. Brad Pitt has two jobs in this movie. Look sexy and punch people in the face. And not to disparage the hard work that goes into looking as sexy as Brad Pitt does in this film, but it doesn't really leave him with very much to do. Please do something, Mr. Pitt. Please have a different facial expression. Please make me feel something. Please, maybe act a little bit.
Boom. Roasted.
Twilight is sexist and sends a harmful message to the young, impressionable girls who love it. Alright, we're gonna change the young girls to adult men, and boom, we're in business. Okay. I honestly just don't have the time to explain all the ways in which this movie is sexist. I honestly don't even want to touch the baffling decision to constantly talk about how Brad Pitt's character may have murdered his wife and then making him the hero of the film. Better video essayists than me can unpack that. But I do want to talk about the one part in this movie that actually offends me. And I do mean that. Unlike all the other useless nonsense I've already mentioned, this part actually hurt to watch. I'm going to be talking about the final scenes of the film. I'll put a content warning here for depictions of graphic violence, with particular attention to violence against women. Now, I won't be putting any footage or stills from the moment into this part, mostly because I don't want to rewatch it, and also because I wouldn't subject you, my audience, to that. But I will be describing it, so if you think that will make you feel uncomfortable, then feel free to take this opportunity to skip to the next video linked in the description. Alright, so again, I will not be rewatching the scene, so forgive me for any inaccuracies. We start in a car as 3 to 4 young people from the Manson family, who I'm not sure we've seen previously, sit outside the Tate home. There is 1 man and 3 women. They plan on murdering Sharon Tate. One of the young women bails, seemingly to let us, the audience, know that they have a choice. So if they go inside that house, they deserve what's coming to them. Then, either by mistake or on purpose, I don't remember, they end up entering DiCaprio's character Rick Dalton's home with the intention to cause harm. And they are met with overwhelming brutality. Pitt's dog bites the guy's nuts clear off. He probably died in some disgusting fashion that I can't remember, but I cannot forget how the young woman died. Pitt's character Cliff grabs one of the women and bashes in her face so thoroughly it looked like a cave. I could see the emptiness inside of her. It was very affecting. After all these years, I can still see it. The second young woman was not afforded such kindness. DiCaprio's character Dalton burned her alive as she screamed and cried and ran, never escaping the pain and torment. All the while, Dalton just laughed with glee, happy for a chance to use his flamethrower on what was a living human being. I can still hear those screams. And then they partied with Sharon Tate, never thinking about the blood on their hands. Did these young people deserve to die? They were there to cause harm, and killing them undoubtedly saved lives. But does that justify the joy the film took in their deaths? I mean, who were these people really? They were so young and I don't know anything about them. When did they join the family? Why did they join? How easily could it have been Margaret Qualley or Sydney Sweeney or America's sweetheart Dakota Fanning who were brutalized instead? You know, I thought we were supposed to have some sympathy for cult members. They are victims in a way. They're people who need family, just like you, me, and Florence Pugh in Midsommar. That doesn't wash them of their sins. They shouldn't be allowed to cause harm, but I certainly don't want to laugh as I listen to their pathetic wails whilst they burn. And apart from the unearned brutality of it all, just in a visceral sense, it feels so disgusting to watch these adult men break and destroy the bodies of these young women for reasons that I would have to read a Wikipedia article to understand. And maybe I would feel differently if I knew and liked Sharon Tate. And maybe I would feel differently if I hadn't recently read the book The Gers by Emma Cline, a book about a young queer girl named Evie who gets involved with a cult. Then maybe I wouldn't spend the entire scene thinking, please don't smash Evie's face in. She's supposed to grow up. But I doubt I would feel differently. Because the true crime of this scene is the pure lack of imagination. Why is this movie so hyper-focused on murdering these people? Like, just the people who are there on the night, in the room. What about Manson? What about the political and racial tensions of the time? What about the dissatisfaction that caused so many to break from society? Why even focus on death when there's life? Sharon Tate was 8 months pregnant at the time of the attack. What if instead of the broken and mangled bodies of young women, I left this movie with the image of a mother holding her child for the first time. But this movie was angry. And you know what? I get it. To be honest, I have felt that same anger. I have seen this word unfairly take away young celebrities that should still be here. I have seen someone with a gun unilaterally decide to extinguish the bright light that got me through the dark. I have been enraged. I have been broken. But this is a film. And unlike me, films have power. They can change history. They can raise people from the dead. They can burn systems. They can recreate the world in a more perfect image. Films necessarily have the indescribable power of God. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood used that divine power to brutalize women. And I didn't like that. I thought it was bad. Hey everyone, thank you so very kindly for watching my video. It was a ton of fun to make. I was being a lot meaner than I normally would. I really hope you watched my follow-up video where I explain why I wanted to make this video in the first place. It's linked in the description. Please come back next week for a thematic analysis of Riverdale where I explain exactly who Archie should end up with.
Veronica, come on.
But like seriously, what are the lessons that I'm supposed to take from this movie? That's fucking cool to murder your wife as long as you're as sexy as Brad Pitt. Hit women but only if they deserve it. White men are cooler than Bruce Lee. White men are good at directing. White men are good at acting. I don't know. That was just a bad role model. He directed unaliving himself just because he acted bad. Well, it's not a healthy mental state. That's not good. None of these people are good. Like, they're not doing good things. And is it for the love of the movies? I feel no love of movies. Do you guys love movies in this? Now, Babylon loves movies.